Seiji was an ugly, riskless loser, whose life turned upside down after Cupid accidentally wrote his name down in a kiss note, which meant whoever had their name written in it had to kiss someone. However, Seiji didn't realize things were bad for him until he discovered that the Ryuk wannabe had used the kiss note to create a harem for him. Before that happened, Guri went to his house and told him she'd die if he didn't kiss someone. But Seiji assumed she was an escaped Arkham patient, so he slammed the door in her face. Still, she wormed her way in and showed him her death note, a kiss note, in which she had written down his name. She explained that if he didn't kiss someone in 24 hours, she would die. But Seiji misunderstood her words and assumed she wanted a kiss from him. Seiji started freaking out, but he soon realized he'd be the biggest fool on earth if he passed up the chance, so he kissed her. Unfortunately, Guri didn't want a kiss from him and explained that he had to kiss the person whose name was written beside his. She also told him that if he didn't kiss someone, he'd spend the rest of his life as a never-been-kissed virgin, forcing him to take her along with him to school to find a candidate. Soon after they got there, Seiji got distracted by the bouncy balls on the chest of a female student named Akane. When Akane noticed Seiji, she approached him and began speaking with him, while Guri shamelessly stared at her melons. Guri had initially assured Seiji that he was the only one who could see, and when he asked her about it again, she pulled down Akane's shorts to prove it. However, they were both surprised when Akane didn't freak out about her shorts being mysteriously pulled down as she asked Seiji who Guri was. Seiji tried to assure Akane that he had nothing to do with Guri, but the crazy girl called him a shameless cad and asked how he could deny her after kissing her. Hearing that the two had kissed caused Akane to go from sweet to psycho in an instant, and she wasted no time in pulling out her knives. She declared that she was going to murder Seiji for cheating on her, but before the knife could touch him, Guri pushed him out of the way. Seiji began freaking out about the knife sticking out of Guri's skull, but Akane accused him of flirting with his skanky mistress in front of her. She then tried to attack Guri again, but Seiji grabbed Guri and ran away. They ended up behind the school, with Seiji shaking like a leaf as he thought about how Akane switched up on them. Guri told him it was a good thing she had the same feelings for him, but Seiji said he wasn't ready to have his balls cut off. She then suggested writing down another girl's name, but quickly changed her mind when she remembered Akane was no better than Jack the Ripper. Suddenly, Guri fainted after getting stabbed by one of Akane's knives, making Seiji begin to freak out. He tried to explain things to Akane, but she interrupted him by asking how he could kiss someone else when he had a crush on her. She then revealed that she was aware of his feelings for her. She said she had been waiting for him to confess to her, and expressed her disappointment at the fact that he kissed Guri. Seiji apologized for being a dense fool and not letting her know his true feelings, and even though Akane forgave him, she said he needed to die for kissing Guri. She immediately charged at him with plans of getting rid of Guri, but instead of stabbing her, Akane ended up kissing Seiji. Guri then revealed that she had written Akane's name in the book and made them a couple, which made Akane happy. She also revealed that she was an angel working as Cupid, so Akane asked if writing their names in the book meant they were bound together forever. Guri told her that wasn't the case, and before anyone could react, she kissed Seiji, surprising both of them. She then let them know that after her first kiss with Seiji, she had decided to find out what love was, so she had written her name beside theirs. After Guri had revealed her intentions to learn how to love, and told them that since they were now in a relationship with her, they had become immortal. The next day, Seiji noticed his family didn't find it weird that Guri was living with them. Guri admitted that she'd hypothesized them into thinking she was part of their family. Just as Seiji began scolding her, he was interrupted by one of Dark Hudback's creations, which freaked him out. Guri assured him that it was fine and introduced the hideous creature as her supervisor, Coralie. Coralie apologized for scaring him and promised to explain things to him, but insisted Akane had to be present. At school, they met up with Akane, and Coralie explained that since they were now bound to Guri, they had become temporary angels. He told them they had to help Guri with her Cupid duties, otherwise they would lose their souls and go to hell. Later on, Seiji was sitting down in the stairwell minding his business when Guri suddenly kissed him. They were seen by a girl who called Seiji a two-timing man whore as she assumed he was cheating on Akane. When she stole the kiss note, Seiji went after her and found her on the rooftop and tried to get it back. The girl screamed at him to stay away, causing an invisible barrier to cover her. Immediately that happened, the place she was standing broke off and she began to fall. Seiji managed to save her from getting isekai'd by using his plot armor, but Akane arrived and misread the situation. She began chasing the girl with murderous intentions, but her barriers prevented Akane's knives from touching her. When Seiji and Guri found the girl, she was trying to write her name in the book. Guri told her that only an angel could write in the book and asked who she was desperately trying to become a couple with. Before she could respond, Akane arrived and tried to stab her, but Seiji stopped her by calling her name. The girl, whose name was Yuzu, tried to convince Akane that what she felt for Seiji was caused by her name being written in the kiss note. Akane assured her that it wasn't the case, causing Yuzu to complain that Akane chose a gorilla-faced fool instead of her. This made them realize that Yuzu was in love with Akane, but Akane set the record straight by announcing that Yuzu was her half-sister. However, Guri added Yuzu's name to their throuple, causing Seiji and Akane to scold her for her stupid decision. Yuzu, on the other hand, was more than pleased to be her sister's lover, and tried to kiss Akane after Guri told her it was part of the requirements. Unfortunately, she tripped and accidentally kissed Seiji instead, causing Akane to stab him. The following day, Seiji was trying to get his sister Aqua to speak to him, when she flipped him over her shoulder and threw him outside the house. It was also at that same moment that Akane arrived, and she tried to stab Aqua for hurting him. Seiji stopped her before she could turn Aqua into the Headless Horseman by telling her that she was his sister. Akane immediately dropped her weapons and apologized, after which she introduced herself as Seiji's future wife, but Aqua ignored her. Later on, when Akane and Seiji arrived at school, they discovered Yuzu and Guri had turned the sickbay into a love clinic. He scolded them and confiscated the kiss note before leaving with Akane to do the job properly. After they were gone, Yuzu asked Guri if she was really in love with a pathetic loser like Seiji. Guri explained that she paired herself with Seiji because she found him intriguing and wanted to understand more about love. She admitted that even though she was a Cupid, all of her knowledge about love came from manga and anime. Yuzu told her that love wasn't something one learned from reading or researching. Before she could speak further, a piece of paper fell into Guri's lap, so they read the note and discovered that it was a love poem. Yuzu had just suggested they bring out their inner Sherlock and Watson to find the owner of the poem when the door burst open. Their teacher, Kusunoki, rushed in, grabbed the paper from Yuzu's hands and hid it. Guri insisted that they could make his love come true, but before he could respond, Seiji and Akane walked in. The girls immediately told him that they wanted Kusunoki to be their next client, but he ignored them. He then pointed to a student named Mary and told Kusunoki that he had bumped into her on her way to his office. The moment Kusunoki set his eyes on Mary, he started heating up and fell after tripping on his own feet. Mary walked into the room and scolded Kusunoki for being a clumsy idiot before she helped him straighten his clothes. As Seiji and the others watched their exchange, they realized Kusunoki had feelings for Mary. Almost immediately after they left the room, Guri called a meeting to discuss the two, but Seiji pointed out that it was useless. He said Kusunoki and Mary couldn't be together because he was her teacher. But Guri and Yuzu insisted that nothing else mattered when it came to love, even though Seiji tried to make them see otherwise. In the end, they agreed to observe them to see if Mary shared the same feelings as Kusunoki. Yuzu and Guri headed out first and decided to reenact the good cop bad cop scene from every cliché cop movie ever made. They tied Kusunoki up and tried to get him to confess his love for Mary, but he managed to escape without telling them anything. Elsewhere, Seiji met up with Mary and asked if she would be interested in dating Kusunoki, since Yuzu and Guri were hell-bent on making them a couple. Mary told him that it would be inappropriate to date her teacher, and admitted that she cared about him because he reminded her of her clumsy brother. Meanwhile, Kusunoki had overheard what she said and felt very sad about it as he remembered how he had fallen for her. Kusunoki hadn't realized he was spacing out until Seiji called his name to get his attention after he found him standing in the hallway. He apologized to Kusunoki for the way Guri and Yuzu treated him, but before they could continue their conversation, Yuzu interrupted them. She claimed Mary had been taken hostage by bank robbers, so Kusunoki and Seiji ran to save her, not knowing it was a lie. Yuzu and Guri had planned that Guri would act like a robber and hold Mary hostage until Kusunoki arrived and saved her. However, Mary recognized Guri when she came closer to her, and to make matters worse, both of them were taken hostage by real bank robbers. When Yuzu arrived with Seiji and Kusunoki, she was surprised to see Guri being held hostage. Guri assured her that even though their plan didn't work out, things were still progressing the way they had hoped. Yuzu then tried to talk Kusunoki into saving Mary and declaring his love for her, but one of the robbers got annoyed that they were being ignored. He turned his gun on Yuzu and shot at her, but Seiji pushed her to the ground as he acted as a meat shield to save her. Yuzu reminded him that she had a protective shield, but Seiji told her that he couldn't stand and watch a lady get hurt. He then told Kusunoki to man up and save Mary if he ever wanted to confess his feelings for her. Mary, on the other hand, was busy scolding the robber for shooting at Yuzu, but he threatened to blow her brains out if she didn't shut up. When Kusunoki walked up to them, he mocked him for shaking like a leaf, but Kusunoki said he was more concerned with saving Mary. Mary then grabbed the robber's arm and called on Kusunoki to take him out, but Kusunoki's weakest punch proved he was the worst student Saitama had. While Mary comforted him, Akane arrived, but stopped in her tracks when she saw the injury on Seiji's arm. Guri told her that the robbers were to blame, so she immediately went psycho bitch on them and beat them to a pulp. Meanwhile, Kusunoki begged Mary to wait until he could confess his feelings for her. She told him that she always knew how he felt, but also knew he would wait until she graduated to make a move. Her confession surprised Seiji and the girls when they realized Mary was also in love with Kusunoki. Mary thanked them for their help, but assured them that she had everything under control, and even Guri accepted that she didn't need to write down their names in the kiss note. Yuzu also thanked Seiji for saving her, but told him that she'd never accept him as Akane's boyfriend. The next morning, Aqua was getting ready for school when Guri stepped out of the shower but naked and surprised her. The next moment, Seiji burst through the door, asking Aqua if she'd seen Guri, but quickly covered his eyes when he saw Guri. Aqua asked Guri who she was and she said she was Seiji's girlfriend, which confused Aqua. She told Guri that Seiji already had a girlfriend, and was even more surprised when Guri confirmed that she knew about Akane. She even made things worse by telling Aqua that Seiji was dating 3 girls at once. Seiji tried to explain the situation to his sister, but she refused to listen and scrubbed his eyes with toothpaste. Later that day, as Aqua made her way home, she was stopped by Yuzu and Guri, who had gone to tell Yuzu how much Aqua hated Seiji. Yuzu hoped to get some dirt on Seiji, which she could use against him. However, Aqua surprised them by saying they had no right to judge Seiji without knowing him well. Before they could ask what she meant, Aqua noticed something approaching them, and as Yuzu began shaking, she referred to it as the demon Stolas. Guri was confused by her statement and even more confused when both girls took off running like the world was on fire. As Yuzu ran, she bumped into Seiji, so she informed him that Stolas had appeared and had gone after Aqua. Seiji immediately ran to find his sister, who was sitting on a tree branch trying to avoid the demon penguin. When Guri arrived, she tried to prove to Aqua that Stolas was harmless, but he proved her wrong by attacking her. As he continued on his path to Aqua, Seiji arrived and asked Aqua to jump into his arms before Stolas could reach her. That night, Seiji carried Aqua on his back as they walked home with Guri, and he teased her for being a big baby. Guri then told Aqua that she knew she had a soft spot for Seiji, but Aqua denied it and ran off. Seiji couldn't understand the sudden change in Aqua, but Guri distracted him by asking if he'd go on a date with her that weekend. When the weekend rolled around, Guri and Seiji went on their date, which was an excuse for Guri to pick up the latest edition of her favorite manga. Later on, they stopped by a park, and while Seiji sat on a bench, he noticed a couple sitting close by. Seiji was impressed by how good they looked together, but the perfect image was shattered when another girl approached the couple. The girl accused the boy of cheating on her, and as Seiji and Guri watched on, they learned that he wasn't just a two-timing jerk, but a shameless skirt chaser with multiple girlfriends. The guy didn't even feel remorseful that he'd been caught red-handed, so one of the girls slapped him. He became annoyed and tried to show his stance on gender equality by slapping her back, but Seiji stopped. Unfortunately, the girl didn't appreciate his interference and pointed out that she wasn't one of Disney's princesses right after she hit Seiji in the back of his head. Almost immediately a fight broke out and Seiji found himself caught in the middle of a relationship brawl. Eventually, he escaped and Guri told him that not every girl wanted a knight in shining armor to save them. Together, they watched the girls beat up their boyfriend to their heart's content. But after they left, Seiji and Guri realized that the kiss note had been burnt to ashes. When they returned home, they informed Coralie about it, but he admitted he had no idea what to do as it was the first time a kiss note had gotten destroyed. He said Guri put Ed and Eddie to shame when it came to how dumb and stupid she was. Guri assured them that everything would be fine when Seiji asked what would happen to the couples whose names were written in the book. Coralie got tired of listening to her, so he took his leave and returned to heaven, but asked Seiji to keep an eye on Guri. The next day, Seiji went to school hoping that Guri was right and everything would be fine, but to his surprise, Akane ignored him all day. On his way home, he shared his worries with Guri, but Yuzu interrupted them. It so happened that a rumor about Akane and Seiji breaking up had spread around school and Yuzu came to gloat. Seiji had to tell her that Akane's attitude towards him was a result of the kiss note being burned. When Yuzu realized the implication of what he'd said, she began complaining that her bond with Akane was gone. Her stupid ramblings were cut off by a Jeru named Tyra, who also happened to be an angel. She told the 3 idiots not to worry as the note burning didn't affect the relationship of the couples and took them around the city to see the other couples. She explained that the note had nothing to do with how the couples felt about one another and handed Guri her phone. She told her to use it in place of the kiss note as she was no longer going to work as a Cupid, and Guri thanked her. Guri then told Seiji that the only downside of the kiss note burning was that he and the girls were no longer immortal since they weren't bound to her anymore. The next moment, Akane's knife struck Guri's head and Seiji became scared for his life because he knew he would die if she attacked him. However, Akane surprised him by kissing him and revealing that she had only ignored him because she wanted him to chase her. Before Seiji could tell her what happened to the kiss note, Akane began stabbing him as she usually did. Fortunately, Guri was smart enough to write their names in her new kiss note before Akane could end his life. A few days later, Seiji and Guri spotted Yuzu going to another school, so Guri jumped into the school compound to find out why. When she found Yuzu, she was hiding behind a statue, waiting for her body double to arrive. After the man arrived, Yuzu and Guri got into Yuzu's car, and she revealed that she attended Akane's school to keep an eye on her sister. When they got to school, Yuzu took Guri with her to spy on Akane in the changing room. Although Yuzu was content with just watching Akane like a creep, Guri decided to take a picture. The sound of the camera shutter caught the attention of Akane and the other girls, so Yuzu took Guri and ran away. When they were far away, she scolded Guri for nearly blowing their cover, but asked if she could send her the picture. Guri sent it to her, and also sent it to Seiji before she showed Yuzu the compatibility app she had. Yuzu asked Guri to check her compatibility with Akane, and she told her that Akane didn't give two shits about her. Before Yuzu could dwell in her sadness, Seiji arrived and asked Guri why she'd sent him the picture of Akane. She told him she had sent it because she knew he'd get hot and bothered by just looking at it. While they were talking, Akane arrived, so Seiji quickly changed the topic as he talked about Yuzu's other school. Akane then revealed to him that Yuzu wasn't a student at their school, which surprised him as he had no idea that's what she was doing. She also told Yuzu to be careful not to let her mother find out she was skipping classes. Yuzu argued that she had to watch over her, but Akane told her to return to her school as she had Seiji. Guri chose that moment to open her big mouth, and she announced that Akane's feelings for Seiji were so strong they could be considered obsessive. Hearing those words made Yuzu feel sad, so she ran away even though Seiji tried to stop her. Yuzu ran until she came to the riverbank, and as she stood under the pouring rain, she recalled her first meeting with Akane. It happened when they were younger and Yuzu was trying to save her doll from falling into a fountain. Akane had saved her from taking an impromptu swim with some piranhas. Akane had scolded the pink-haired girl with them for bullying Yuzu, so the girl apologized by calling her name. When Akane heard the name, she realized Yuzu was her sister, but instead of embracing her, she walked away. Yuzu felt the need to speak up, so she told Akane she loved her, but Akane ignored her and continued walking. Back in the present, Yuzu kept trying to understand why Akane loved Seiji more than her. However, she couldn't ponder on it more because she was interrupted by a dirty old leecher, who offered to take her home. Yuzu got scared and accidentally attacked him with her barrier, which ripped his clothes open. The force of the attack caused the ground underneath her feet to break off, so she fell into the water and would have drowned if Seiji hadn't arrived. When she regained consciousness, she punched him in the face. After she calmed down a bit, she asked why he had come after her, and he told her he had been worried. Yuzu told him there was no need to worry as what Akane had said was the truth, and added that she had hoped Akane would grow to love her. Instead, she'd given all her time and love to a worthless fool like Seiji. Seiji admitted that he didn't know why Akane was interested in a useless bum like him, which earned him a soul-stealing slap from Yuzu. The force of the slap sent him flying into the river, but instead of getting angry, he laughed and told Yuzu he liked that she was so strong-willed. Just then Akane arrived with 2 umbrellas, and after giving one to Yuzu, she attached herself to Seiji like a leech. Yuzu then told her sister that she would continue loving her and watching over her, even though she hated it. The next day, as Seiji walked through the hallway of the school with Guri on his shoulders, a girl approached them. She said her name was Shikimi and asked them to help her get together with her crush. She begged them not to involve anyone else as she was embarrassed about it, and they agreed. Later that day, Seiji met up with Shikimi, and when he couldn't find Guri anywhere, Shikimi suggested they go ahead. On their way to the meeting place, Seiji told Shikimi all about his little harem and how Guri's powers worked. Meanwhile, Guri went looking for Shikimi and Seiji and didn't find them, so she decided to call him only to discover that her phone was missing. At the same time, Seiji realized Shikimi had led him into a trap, and after she switched her out, she revealed she was Akane and Yuzu's cousin. Back in school, Akane overheard Guri telling Yuzu that Seiji went somewhere with Shikimi, so Akane went crazy. She immediately started tracking Seiji down because she happened to know Shikimi was the definition of an unhinged psychopath. Shikimi, on the other hand, had pinned Seiji to the floor with some shiny webs and repeatedly stabbed him with a sharp object. Akane soon burst through the walls and immediately attacked Shikimi, who jumped out of the way. She also managed to swipe all of Akane's knives without her realizing it, but Akane still cut her with her hairpin. Shikimi didn't mind because she was a masochist who seemed to get off on pain and suffering. She then used her webs to tie Akane to the wall, as she told her that she had grown weak since the last time she saw her. The nutjowl also ripped Akane's shirt just so she could grope and pull at her wobbly melons, causing Akane to call her a smut-loving freak, which Shikimi was more than happy to accept, as she wasn't about to deny her true self. Shikimi turned to look at Seiji and told Akane that the one thing she loved more than taking other people's things was destroying said things before them. Just then, Yuzu arrived and tried defending her sister, but that only led to Shikimi mocking them both. Her attention was soon drawn to Seiji, who had managed to get free, so she approached him. Akane called out to her and told her that if she laid a finger on Seiji, she would feed her to the fishes. Her threat made Seiji ask why they were trying to murder one another if they were related, causing Shikimi to laugh. She told him he was a fool for not knowing the kind of girls he'd mixed up with, and was about to spill the beans when Akane stopped her. She told Shikimi that she'd rather die than let Seiji learn about her family, and angering Shikimi, who complained that she was too soft. In an attempt to return Akane to the cold-hearted girl she once was, Shikimi tried to send Seiji on a one-way trip to Anubis. However, she was interrupted by Guri dressed in a giant shrimp suit she had won at the mall on her way there, while the slow-witted girl was trying to understand what was happening around her. Shikimi rushed over to her. She handed Guri her phone and told her she had found it when the truth was that she had stolen it. She then asked the clueless idiot to add her to Seiji's harem, because he just happened to be the guy she liked. Of course, she had used her web to tie the mouths of the others so they wouldn't let Guri know what she was planning. Seiji was sure they were all doomed because it was no secret that a toddler had a higher IQ than Guri. He knew that she was obsessed with making love matches, and Shikimi sounded very convincing. However, she surprised everyone when she turned down Shikimi's request, saying Shikimi didn't have any love. She told Shikimi that her heart was empty, so Shikimi decided to get rid of all of them. Fortunately, she got a phone call from Akane's mother, and after speaking to her, she told the gang that she had somewhere to be. After she left, Akane rushed to Seiji and forced him to lay on her lap, after which she thanked Guri for turning Shikimi down. As expected, Guri tried to make a big deal out of it, but their petty arguments were soon halted the moment Akane realized Seiji wasn't moving. Guri checked to see if he was alright, and informed the girls that he wasn't breathing. Meanwhile, Seiji found himself in heaven, and Coralie informed him that Kami-sama wished to speak with him. He took him to a room where he met with Kami, who turned out to be a clumsy old surfer Wanabe, and also Guri's father. Back on Earth, Guri suggested they reenact Sleeping Beauty to wake Seiji up, so Akane gave it a shot. When it didn't work, Guri asked if she could try, but Akane's jealousy was too strong to allow Guri to kiss him. In heaven, Terra brought some tea for Seiji and Kami, and he couldn't help but ask where Guri's mother was. Terra told him that since Kami was no better than Zeus, who was a shameless hound dog, his wife left him. She then forced Kami to tell Seiji why he'd been brought up to heaven in the first place, so Kami told him that Guri was going to take over from him. Seiji immediately voiced out how disastrous that would be for all of humanity, and Kami told him that he knew that. He said Seiji was the key to making Guri the perfect god, and begged him to teach her all he knew about love. They were soon interrupted by Mao, the ruler of hell, and he told Seiji to turn down Kami's request and live his life. Kami pointed out that he was only saying that because he wanted Guri to fall to hell and become a demon. Mao didn't deny it, and as the two men argued, Seiji told them that Guri wasn't the type to follow orders. He said she had the attention span of a goldfish and wouldn't be interested in ruling either heaven or hell. Kami agreed with him and asked him to look out for Guri before sending him back to the land of the living. Moments before Seiji woke, Yuzu tried to kiss him since Akane was too busy trying to murder Guri. However, before that could happen, he opened his eyes and banged his head against hers because of how close they were. Akane immediately rushed into his arms, and Guri asked Seiji how her father was doing since she already knew where he was. Seiji scolded her for not telling them about her father, but she said talking about home was boring, making him wonder if he would be able to teach the dumb girl about love. Days later, Seiji invited Aqua on a trip to the beach with him and the girls, but he soon realized it was a bad idea because Aqua made it her mission to ignore Akane. After splashing around in the water for a while, he excused himself to buy some food and ran into Shikimi. Shikimi tried to seduce Seiji, but he let her know he didn't like girls who acted like cheapos. So she tried to win him over by revealing Akane and Yuzu's secret. Back on the beach, Guri and Akane were having the most violent volleyball game in history, and Aqua couldn't help but wonder what her brother saw in Akane. As she floated in the water, she suddenly felt something touch her legs, and before she knew it, it ripped part of her swimsuit as well. Aqua froze in fear when she realized her attacker was Stolas, but fortunately, Akane saved her. After she sent the bird flying with the volleyball ball, she helped Aqua out of the water, but he followed them. Akane refused to let the stupid bird hurt Aqua, so she took him on in a one-on-one fight. Meanwhile, Seiji stopped Shikimi from telling him about Yuzu and Akane's families, saying that he would wait until they were ready to talk. At the beach, Stolas had injured Akane, but she refused to give up and managed to take him down using a baseball bat. By the time Seiji returned, he was surprised to see the girls getting along with Aqua and wondered what happened. On their train ride home, they told about Stolas, and Aqua surprised Akane by telling her that Seiji liked strong girls like her. The day after they returned, Guri took Seiji and the girls to the school at night, claiming they had to partake in a test of courage. They met up with 2 other students, who said Guri had agreed to help them become a couple. Guri told them that their real mission was to get to the roof so they could make the 2 students a couple, but Seiji felt something was off. After walking around for a while, Seiji suggested they split up if they wanted to test their courage. The couple told him that it was best if they stayed together, but as they spoke, Seiji noticed Yuzu looked scared. He tried to convince her to return home, but she insisted on coming along. However, she nearly shit herself when she noticed something lurking in the shadows, but no one else saw it until Guri pointed out the floating lady behind Seiji. Immediately, they screamed in fear and began running for their lives, but no matter what they did, they couldn't shake the ghosts off. It was almost as if they'd walked into a haunted house, harboring the ghosts of every scary character ever created. When they finally locked themselves in a room, Guri and Akane were suddenly transported to the roof. Guri told Akane that all they had to do was wait until the others joined them. Akane took the opportunity to ask Guri to stop toying with Seiji, since she wasn't really in love with him. Inside the building, Seiji, Yuzu, and the couple made it to the door leading to the roof, even though Seiji had to carry Yuzu the rest of the way. Upon reaching the roof, it was revealed that the couple were ghosts. They wanted to cross over together, but their fellow ghosts wouldn't allow them, so they enlisted Guri's help to achieve their goal. The following weekend, Guri tried to get Seiji to go to a festival with her, but he had already made plans with Akane and Yuzu. Yuzu invited her to join them, but Guri stormed out of the house and went to the bookstore to buy her manga. At the bookstore, a young handsome guy approached her and invited her out on a date, which she accepted. In the end, the guy did everything she asked and went everywhere she wanted to go. When they sat down at a cafe to eat some cake, Guri couldn't help but compare the Prince Charming before her to Seiji the Orge. She admitted that she had a boyfriend, but the young man didn't seem to mind. He told her that fate had brought them together and asked Guri where she wanted to go, so he took her to the festival. At the festival, Guri used her powers to change her outfit, and her date didn't seem spooked at all, making her think of how Seiji would have scolded her if he'd been the one with her, but she pushed the thought aside. Eventually, she and her date went on to enjoy the festival, and when it was time for the fireworks display, they found a nice spot to watch it. As they watched the display, her date tried to convince her to dump Seiji for him. But when he tried to kiss her, she poked his eyes. After she apologized, she admitted that being with him felt wrong, and told him that she'd rather do couple stuff with Seiji. She then ran off, trying to return home, but bumped into Seiji, who told her he had come for her. Overwhelmed with joy, Guri kissed him and told him that even though he had his shortcomings, she'd rather be with him. Akane and Yuzu soon joined them, and Guri told Akane that she might not understand the concept of love, but she was willing to stay by Seiji's side. Meanwhile, Guri's date suddenly came to his senses after it was revealed that Mao had manipulated him into becoming Guri's ideal man. Coralie approached Mao and asked him to stay away from Guri and Seiji, so Mao promised to do so. Days later, Shikinu was busy torturing some poor guy when Akane's mother arrived and asked her about Seiji. A few hours after their meeting, a beat-up Akane knelt before her mother, who ordered her to break up with Seiji. The next day, Seiji was at the park with Coralie when someone shot him in the head. Meanwhile, Yuzu and Guri were having tea when her bodyguard came to inform her that Akane was in trouble. Back at the park, Seiji tried to bring out his inner Keanu Reeves by dodging bullets Matrix style, but he eventually got caught by a beefed-up guy. Since he was such a wimp, he screamed in fear like a little bitch when the guy tried to hurt him, but Aqua came to his rescue. She asked who on earth would try to assassinate a loser like him, and Seiji could only think of Shikimi. However, Shikimi arrived and revealed that the person behind the attacks was Akane's mother. She also told him that Akane had been held hostage by her mother and suggested they team up to rescue her. Seiji tried to refuse, but after Aku had kicked him and told him to man up, he agreed to go. At the same time, Guri convinced Yuzu to go on a rescue mission to save Akane and reunite her with Seiji. Both girls were the first to arrive, and they had to fight off some low-budget Yakuza to get to Akane, who threw a knife at Yuzu. Fortunately, it only grazed her cheek, but Akane didn't seem to care as she asked them to leave. Yuzu argued that she had come to rescue her, and Guri pointed out that she wasn't acting like her usual self. Almost immediately, Akane attacked her, but since Guri didn't know how to shut up, she told Akane that if she didn't snap out of her current self, she'd steal Seiji. Akane told her she didn't care and tried to cut her. So Guri quickly activated the Oppo no Me fruit and switched places with the dummy. When she was a safe distance away, Guri asked Akane if she was willing to abandon the future she hoped to have with Seiji. Akane insisted that Seiji was dead to her and tried to stab her, but Yuzu got between them and shielded Guri. She then begged Akane not to let her family's ideals make her push those closest to her away. Yuzu told her that if she were in the same situation, she would stand her ground and do what she felt was right. Just then, Akane's mother arrived, and she told Yuzu to stop filling her daughter's head with rubbish. Meanwhile, Seiji, Akua, and Shikimi were outside fighting off the remaining guards when Shikimi double-crossed them and kidnapped Seiji. She took him to the courtyard where Akane and the others were and began torturing him to see what Akane would do. Yuzu tried to intervene, but Seiji stopped her and said Shikimi's stabs were not as painful as Akane's, which surprised Akane. However, her reaction to his words made her mother slap her before ordering her to end things with him. Akane took the sword her mother gave to her and approached Seiji, but he didn't seem scared at all. Yuzu tried to stop her, but she was held back by Shikimi, who told her not to interfere with matters that didn't concern her. Seiji asked Akane to tell him what he did wrong, but all she could do was cry and beg him to leave. He told her he'd never leave, causing her to cry harder as she hugged him and confessed her undying love for him. Guri cheered them on, and even though Akane tried to squish her head, she agreed that she had only been pretending. Suddenly, her mother threw a sword at Seiji, but Akane deflected it and the woman called her a disappointment. Akane tried to explain herself, but her mother refused to listen as she reached for another sword. The next moment, the sword bearer was blown away by a powerful force which had come from Yuzu's mother. She had come to take Yuzu home, but when she noticed the injury on her face, she attacked Akane's mother. While both women fought to the death, Akane and Yuzu told Seiji about their family. Akane's clan happened to be a crime syndicate, while Yuzu's family protected people from harm. Both their mothers had fallen in love with the same man, but Akane's mother had been pressured by her family to leave Akane's father. This forced her to become cold-hearted, and she trained Akane to become like that. After their story, Akane called out to her mother and told her that she loved Seiji so much she wasn't willing to let him go. Eventually, she convinced her mother to let her be with Seiji, and things ended on a happy note. A few days later, Yuzu's mother dropped her off at school, but like always, she snuck away and went to Akane's school. She was very excited to hang with her sister, but noticed Akane was in a bad mood. Before Seiji could explain, the teacher walked in. He then introduced Shikimi to the class as their new classmate, causing Yuzu to ask what was going on. Akane explained that their mothers had sent Shikimi to the school to monitor them. During break, Shikimi met Yuzu on the rooftop, and Yuzu told her not to do anything to ruin Akane's happiness. Shikimi pointed out that if Akane and Seiji broke up, it would benefit her, but Yuzu refused to play her dirty game. Shikimi then asked and was now interested in Seiji, and not Akane. Yuzu immediately assured that she would only love Akane until the day she died, but Shikimi didn't believe her. Later on, Seiji and the girls held a meeting to discuss Shikimi and her plans, but they had no idea what she was up to. Akane came up with the brilliant idea of showing her that she was in a happy relationship with Seiji. Her plan involved Seiji kissing her in front of everyone to prove his love for her, so he agreed on the condition that she get along with Guri. Akane hated the condition he set, but agreed because she wanted a kiss from Seiji by all means. When they returned to class, their classmates nominated Shikimi to play the lead role in their upcoming show. Shikimi, in return, asked that Akane be her co-star, and she agreed on the condition that Guri join the play as well. Seiji then noticed Yuzu was absent, so he asked where she was, and Guri told him she was at the sick bay. After class, he went looking for her but was shocked when Yuzu suddenly kissed him while trying to prove to herself that she had no feelings for him. For the next few days, Yuzu attended her school, so Seiji waited for her at the gate so he could speak with her. When she saw him, she took off running, but he went after her and told her he had come to give her the script for the play in her costume. He also told her that he felt she was avoiding everyone because of him, but Yuzu hit him with her bag and told him not to assume anything about her. On the day of the play, Akane tried to get Shikimi to confess that she had said something to Yuzu. Shikimi ignored her, so Akane continued the play and even had an epic fight with Guri. During the fight scene, Yuzu arrived, and Shikimi threw Seiji, who was dressed as a tree, between them. Consumed by guilt, Yuzu confessed that she had kissed Seiji so she could be sure of her feelings. However, the kiss only made her more confused as she refused to accept that she had feelings for someone other than Akane. Akane surprised Yuzu by pushing her cheeks together and telling her that there was nothing wrong with her liking someone else. She then hugged her and told her that no matter what, she would always be her sister, and Yuzu promised to always love her. They soon remembered they were in the middle of a play when the audience started booing. To salvage the situation and to prove to Seiji that she could get along with Guri, Akane kissed Guri. After the show, Yuzu confessed to Seiji that she didn't completely hate him, and while they were speaking, Akane tried to brush the kiss with Guri away. When Shikimi approached her, she turned to leave but told her that there was nothing she could do to separate her from Seiji. The moment Akane left, Shikimi sat beside Guri and told her that since Akane, Yuzu, and Seiji had become closer, they would soon forget about her. When the weekend rolled around, Aqua left home for a sleepover at her friend's place, but before leaving she warned Seiji not to bring girls home. However, a few minutes after she left, Akane arrived and declared that she was spending the night with Seiji. She also reminded him of his promise to her and leaned in for the kiss. Seiji began freaking out, but he was saved from screwing up the kiss by Guri, who came out of the bathroom. As expected, Akane took her anger out on both of them by sticking knives in their heads. After they sat down to talk, the doorbell rang and Seiji was surprised to see Yuzu at the door. She told him she didn't want him and Akane spending the night alone, completely disregarding Guri's presence. When Seiji tried to protest, Akane gave him a death glare, so he agreed to let them stay. The next moment, the doorbell rang again, and when he saw Shikimi standing there, he shut the door in her face. However, she already anticipated it, so she picked the lock and told him she'd keep doing it if he locked her out. Elaine tried to get her to leave, but she threatened to tell their mothers they were together. Later on, Akane prepared dinner but served Guri and Shikimi cabbages, so the girls helped themselves to Seiji and Yuzu's food. After dinner, Seiji tried to take a bath but got interrupted by Guri, Akane, and Shikimi for different reasons. When he was done, he sat outside, so Akane joined him and hinted at the fact that he hadn't kept his promise. Just as she was about to tell him not to force himself to do it, he kissed her. Soon after, it was time for bed, so, like a true gentleman, Seiji gave the girls his room and went to sleep in the living room. The next morning, Seiji woke up to find Yuzu, Akane, and Guri sleeping on top of him, while a naked Shikimi slept on the couch. As Seiji tried to understand why he was in such a mess, Aqua arrived and found Seiji with the girls. He tried explaining things to her after the girls left, but she refused to listen to him and stormed off in anger. Guri followed her out of curiosity and took her to the mall to buy some girly clothes which Aqua hated. When they sat down to eat some crepes, Aqua asked Guri if she was truly in love with Seiji, because it didn't seem that way. Guri told her that the others had pointed out the same thing, so Aqua said that there had to be something she was missing between them. Eventually, she got tired of their little heart-to-heart, so she left but was surprised to see that Stolas had returned. She quickly made a run for it and hid in a nearby playground, and while she contemplated calling Seiji, Coralie arrived. When he tried to find out what the problem was, Stolas attacked him and tried to get freaky with Aqua. Coralie pushed the psycho bird out of the way and transformed into his angel form before attacking him. Still, Stolas refused to stay down and tried to attack Coralie, who was trying to convince Aqua to run away. Aqua didn't do as she was told. Instead, she summoned a little bit of courage and kicked Stolas away. Just as Coralie was praising her for standing up for herself, Seiji arrived, but Coralie assured him everything was fine. Meanwhile, Guri was watching the siblings and recalled what Aqua had said to her at the mall. As she contemplated the possibility that Aqua was right, Shikimi approached her and offered to listen to her problems. When Seiji returned home, he went looking for Guri, but he couldn't find her anywhere, so went to let Coralie and Aqua know. However, they were not worried, as it was normal for Guri to disappear from time to time without notice. Unfortunately, this wasn't one of those times, and after she'd been missing for a week, Coralie demanded they look for her. Akane didn't see the point in searching for Guri, as she was glad to have Seiji all to herself. Coralie had to remind them that if Guri's job as an angel wasn't done, they would all lose their souls, which made Seiji worried. Yuzu didn't like their attitude and told them she was ashamed of them for not looking for Guri. She told Seiji he was being selfish because he didn't care where Guri was until his soul was on the line. Meanwhile, Shikimi was helping Mary move some boxes when they came across Kusunoki, and when Shikimi noticed his reaction to Mary, she came up with a plan. She went to see him in his office under the pretext of needing help with the last topic he taught them. In truth, what she wanted to do was seduce him, but she couldn't go ahead with her plans because Seiji saw her. He quickly ran to the room and dragged her away before she could achieve her goal and ruin what Mary had with Kusunoki. After leaving Kusunoki, Seiji and Shikimi went to the storage room, where she tried to seduce him. Seiji did his best to resist her, but the sneaky vixen used her webs to hold him in place and began kissing him. Unknown to Seiji, Guri was watching them, and it was then revealed that she'd been watching over them since she went missing. She decided to do this because Shikimi had convinced her it was the only way to understand what she was feeling. Back in the present, Akane found Seiji and Shikimi and tried to murder the boyfriend-stealing bitch, but Shikimi assured her that she had done nothing wrong. Akane then told her that if she didn't change her ways, she'd end up a sad, lonely cat lady. Shikimi didn't care and told Akane she wouldn't be the only one to end up alone before hitting the branch Guri was sitting on. When the others saw her, Seiji demanded to know why she'd hidden Guri from them, but she ignored them and asked Guri if her experiment had answered her question. She then pushed Guri to ask Seiji how he truly felt about her, and he told her that she'd been nothing but a nuisance to him since the day they met. His words seemed to break something in Guri, because she suddenly wrapped herself in a ball of black feathers. The next moment, Mao appeared beside Shikimi and revealed that he'd been working with Shikimi to turn Guri into a demon. When he snapped his fingers, the ball opened up and the demon Guri emerged from it. She told them she was going to fix the mess she created as an angel and tried to fly away, but Seiji stopped her. He demanded she give them an explanation, so she told him that the Guri they once knew was dead. After she flew away, Mao and Shikimi disappeared and Seiji was more confused than before. However, Yuza suggested that they go after Guri, and when they found her, they discovered that she had taken away the love of all the couples she made. Yuza tried to confront her, causing Guri to almost take away her love as well, but Coralie pushed her out of the way in time. By the time Seiji and Akane arrived, Guri was already gone, so Yuza made sure to tell Seiji everything was his fault. She said if he'd been honest about his feelings, Guri wouldn't have gone dark. Her words made Akane come to his defense as she told Yuza that Guri was to blame for her misfortunes. Yuza tried to make her sister understand Guri, but Akane refused to listen, so Guri ran off after telling Akane she was no better than the Ice Queen. Seiji went after Yuza, and when Coralie caught up with them, he took them to heaven to see Kami, so they could find a way to turn Guri back. Kami told them that since Guri was a half-demon, half-angel, it wasn't that hard for her to switch sides. When Seiji asked what could be done, he said they had to go to hell and speak to Guri. He believed that if they talked to her, she would return to her normal self, and advised Seiji to ask Guri what she wanted from him. When they arrived in hell, Coralie provided them with disguises so they could blend in. While they were trying to figure out how to find Guri, they overheard some demons talking about Guri and Momoa's plans to make her his successor. The demons hoped Guri would let them destroy and steal the love and happiness of the humans. But Seiji told Coralie and Yuza that Guri wasn't that type of person because she loved making couples more than anything in the world. Meanwhile, Guri went to see Mahu in his office, and he tried to convince her to become his successor. She told him that she wanted nothing to do with his position, and told him to stop looking for her mother in her. After she left, Mao recalled his conversation with Guri's mother about her taking over hell. She told him she wasn't interested and said she was getting married to Kami, so he had to take over and rule hell. Years later, he received news that she had divorced Kami because he cheated on her, so he went to confront him. It was there he met Guri for the first time, and she reminded him so much of her mother, which was why he made sure she became a demon. Back in the present, Shikimi came across Seiji and the others and blew their cover, so they ran from the demon police. Akane soon arrived and beat the shit out of Cerberus before she threw herself at Seiji. When Yuzu asked how she got there, she told them that Terra had advised her to think of the most shocking thing ever so she could die. Akane said she had imagined Seiji married to someone else, and it worked like a charm. After she arrived in heaven, she beat up everyone who stood in her way until she found Seiji. Soon after their reunion, they went to find Guri, and Akane tried to beat her up, hoping that it would reset her mind. Unfortunately, her attempts proved useless, so she decided to give up and return to Earth. But Yuzu insisted they try something else. Akane then approached Guri and tried speaking to her, but Guri told her not to waste her breath. She said her only purpose was to destroy love, causing Akane to ask why she hadn't destroyed hers yet. Shikimi tried to egg Guri on and advised her to take Akane's love away, but Seiji intervened. When Shikimi realized that Akane was paying attention to Seiji, she reminded her that they were all happy without her. This made Guri begin to question herself, and just when she was about to give up, Seiji asked what she wanted from him. His words seemed to get to her, because she suddenly lost her wings and began to fall. Seiji rushed to catch her, and just before they hit the ground, Guri transformed into an angel. She told him she wanted him to love her right before she kissed him, and flew back to the top of the building. After she thanked Yuzu and Akane for coming to her rescue, she approached Shikimi and told her that if she changed her ways, she would add her to Seiji's harem. Immediately the words left her mouth. Seiji and the girls protested, but Shikimi liked the idea of becoming one of Seiji's women. Soon after they returned home, they'd all continued with their chaotic lives, but this time around everyone was happier. If you watched this video to the end, confuse the fake fans by commenting RIP Akane. If you like anime recaps like this, watch this video.